Since the first Transformers movie came out in the 90s, the story has grown in many different ways. After the show came out, Beast Wars became just as popular as the first one, but it never got as much attention. In this video, we'll discuss how Rise of the Beast changes the Beast Wars in a big way, and why Transformers is finally making Beast Wars now. First off, Beast Wars had much smaller Transformers. From the first battles on Cybertron, the story of Beast Wars has come a long way. Years after the Autobots and Decepticons went to war, the Cybertronians changed and became the Maximals and the Predacons. Megatron, like the one who came before him, wanted to conquer and rule over the others. He started a war, which Optimus Primal and the other Maximals fought against. Their war sent them off the planet, and through a wormhole, they both ended up on prehistoric Earth, where they both were killed. To protect themselves from the energon-rich environment, the different groups turned into native animals. This was the start of the Beast Wars. Even though these groups fought their battles, the advanced technology was shown immediately. For example, neither side was as big as the Autobots or the Decepticons. In later episodes, Optimus Prime's size was compared to that of the Maximals, and he was much bigger than them. This also made their animal forms make more sense and gave the series a wider range of heights, which is paid off over and over again. Up next, the change in size helps the story. In Transformers Rise of the Beast, the Maximals are much bigger than the Autobots when they're in animal form, but when they were in robot form, both teams were on the same level and could fight fairly. So the idea might seem crazy on paper, but the way these characters look, with their biomechanical shapes, makes a lot more sense. But it also goes into deeper ideas and could be explained in a way that adds to the legend of the Maximals on Earth and explains why no one's ever seen them before Rise of the Beasts. If the Maximals were from the future and had been hiding for hundreds of years, it would make sense that they were so big. But if they are sometimes seen by people, it could add to the stories about cryptids on Earth. For example, King Kong might have been based on Optimus Primal, and Airazor might look like a Thunderbird from Native American folklore because she can breathe fire. So even though the Maximal size isn't like it is in the show, it works much better because it could lead to more continuity and allow for awesome fights with the Autobots. Followed by, is this movie a fresh start for the franchise? With that much power, the franchise can take some creative risks, and make no mistake, Beast Wars in the 1990s was a risk. There's still a chance that Rise of the Beast won't have any of the things that made Beast Wars great. It's a complicated story with a lot of time travel that worked well as a mildly serialized TV show, but that doesn't mean it'll work on the big screen. Still, the time is right for a new Transformers story, and people in the 2020s are much more familiar with some of the more complex science fiction ideas in Beast Wars. Bumblebee felt more like a course correction than a remake, which seems to be backed up by the fact that it didn't do very well at the box office. It had a similar structure to the Michael Bay movies, but it did it in a much better way. Up next, The Rise of the Beast brings Beast Wars back into the spotlight. After the show came out, Beast Wars became just as popular as the first one, but it never got as much attention. But now that Rise of the Beast has come out, it's time for the Maximals to share the spotlight with the G1 Transformers. Still, the designs of the characters have already been changed to make them more realistic and, most importantly, bigger. But the Maximals' change in size may have helped these characters more than ever. Moving on to new ways to tell stories. Beast Wars would be a huge change that would change the way people think about what the franchise can do. If Transformers Rise of the Beast does well, it could give the Transformers franchise many new ways to tell stories. Beast Wars was the first big change for the Transformers, but it won't be the last. Rise of the Beasts is the first Transformers movie that won't have a lot to do with the war for Cybertron. That's the main difference, besides the fact that it's about animal Transformers. It's a small change, but it'll let the Transformers movie finally spread their wings and look at things other than the rivalry between Optimus Prime and Megatron. Now let's look at why Transformers is finally making Beast Wars now. This is the 7th movie in the Transformers series. It was inspired by the animated series Beast Wars Transformers. If you loved Michael Bay's Transformers movies, you might be wondering what Beast Wars is and why it's getting so much attention. Rise of the Beasts will take place 7 years after the events of Bumblebee. This gives Paramount a chance to change the Transformers franchise without having to start over with a whole new set of movies. Also, the fact that they used ideas from the old animated show Beast Wars shows that they want to add something new to the franchise. Not to mention, Paramount wants to stay relevant. During Paramount's showcase, franchise producer Lorenzo Di Bonaventura said the same thing when he said that the rivalry between the Autobots and the Decepticons had run its course. Transformers needs new stories, so the content from Beast Wars is finally being taken away. Paramount realized that franchises need to change to stay interesting and relevant. So now is a great time for a Beast Wars movie. Taking Beast Wars and making it into a movie gives us the chance to introduce new Transformer groups and a new threat in the form of Scourge. Bonaventura said that the movie wouldn't be a direct adaptation, but the trailer shows that the Predacons, Maximals, and Terracons will be looked at. Let's learn more about how it's the best direction for the series to go. Still, no one knows why it took so long to make the Beast Wars movie, but the Transformers franchise had to use Beast Wars in the 2000s to change without rebooting the entire fictional universe, which Paramount had spent over a decade building and which still brings in billions of dollars. Even though there are other Transformers stories that could be told, adapting Beast Wars solves the most important problem, which is where Autobots and Decepticons fight over and over again. It also adds a new visual element by bringing in the Predacons and Maximals from Beast Wars, who can change in ways that audiences haven't seen before. After all, the Transformers movies are all about one-upping each other, and so far, none of them have shown Ron Perlman voicing what's basically a robot King Kong. Coming up, Beast Wars introduces Predacons and Maximals. Beast Wars introduced Predacons and Maximals, which makes it different from other Transformers cartoons. These are the sons and daughters of Decepticons and Autobots, and they can change into very realistic animal species. Most of the time, the evil Predacons change into cold-blooded reptiles and insects, while the peacekeeping Maximals change into mammals. For example, Optimus Primal's the leader of the Maximals. As his name suggests, he changes into a giant gorilla. Since both Optimus Prime and Primal are in the movie, it'll be interesting to see how Prime and his Maximal counterpart get along. In a way, this movie might try to cash in on the success of movies like Godzilla vs. Kong, which are about big monsters fighting each other. There are some similarities between the two properties, like how big they are and how much they show off. If the name of the next Transformers movie, Rise of the Beasts, is any indication, the franchise wants to change and set up a new series of movies based on Beast Wars, starting with Rise of the Beasts. Next, how the movie brings back Michael Bay's vision. There's no doubt that Michael Bay's movies lost themselves along the way, and the money they made at the box office proved it. Even though the reviews weren't great, Bumblebee was a somewhat successful project. All of that could change because Rise of the Beast will focus on what makes the franchise great, Transformers. Over time, Michael Bay's movies focused less on the Transformers themselves and more on cars. Any kind of story about real people was pushed aside in favor of driving scenes, with lots of CGI explosions. There was too much focus on automotive product placement. The cars that the Transformers turned into became more important than the Transformers themselves. Explosions alone don't make a good movie, and by the time The Last Knight came out, we were tired of them. The new Transformers movie looks like it'll bring the robots back into the spotlight with a lot of old and new Transformers. If Rise of the Beast remembers what made the first movies great, a new rivalry and a new storyline will give the franchise new life. Finally, Rise of the Beast will end a debate that's been going on for decades. In a funny way, the world of Transformers has changed in many creative ways over the past 10 years. In the early years of the G1 series, there were Headmasters and Target Masters. Later, the franchise added Minicons and robots that could change into real animals. Because of this, there are many versions of Transformers that people have stuck with over the years, each one claiming to be their favorite or even the best. Since the beginning, G1's been the most popular and well-known version of the brand, thanks to characters like Optimus Prime and Megatron. As the year went on, though, other franchises, most notably Beast Wars, came out that challenged G1's status and even caused some debate among fans. Since then, both shows have had different kinds of fans, and sometimes they've even crossed over. But no matter how often they work together, people still ask which one's better. Transformers Rise of the Beast could end the argument once and for all. And on that note, that's a wrap for this video. What do you think of the changes that Rise of the Beast will bring to the Transformers franchise? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. We'll see you in the next one.